everyone, this is Victoria Kennedy, medium clairvoyant from Los Angeles, California. And on tonight's episode of VK's Rant and Rave, we're going to talk about going on missing person searches. You know, a friend of mine, she is all into cold cases and missing persons. So she actually asked me if I wanted to do a podcast with her, and I agreed. At first, I wasn't too sure if I was going to be into it that much. But then as I kind of start listening to these stories and reading these articles, it is very, very entertaining. And I'm not saying entertaining in a morbid way, like haha, you've gone missing or you were shot and killed, but meaning that it truly grasps your attention. It's as if you become an addict to all these unsolved cold cases. That's really the only way that I can truly explain it. So we did this episode on a missing person, and her father, let me rephrase that, her stepfather totally killed her. He had some type of obsession with her, and long story short, he ended up picking her up from school, and that was the last that she was ever seen or heard of. And what the odd thing is with this is that immediately after she went missing, quote unquote, because he did kill her, he literally got rid of her pets. Okay, let me back up here. If you are a true parent and you truly care for your child, regardless if it's your biological child or not, why are you going to just get rid of their pets? Why would you do that? Why would you not want to keep their pets as a reminder of who they are? You know, think about it. If somebody passes away in your family and you want some type of a keepsakes from them, that's kind of how it is. You know, I remember my grandmother. She passed away, and it's been years already. But my grandmother, during the winter, would always wear this red sweater, and red was her absolute favorite color. And once it started getting cold, there comes that red sweater. So for me, that's like one of those keepsakes that I wanted, because that's how I remember my grandmother, always in this red sweater. And trust me, this red sweater is not pretty whatsoever, but it's not the fact that it's an ugly sweater, but more so of this used to belong to my grandmother, and that's how I remember her, in this red sweater. So kind of looking back in retrospect, why would this stepfather want to do that? So in regards to his stepdaughter, as I said, quote unquote, being missing, her mother actually passed away. Now, I'm not really sure when the mother passed away, but I know that she passed away before her daughter went missing. And I just heard about this the other day. So when the mother passed away, apparently she passed away from cancer. But then I was actually listening to this TikTok video of the sister who was actually talking about this, and she said that she had to go get a mammogram because she was at high risk because her mother had cancer, and thank God everything came back normal on that mammogram. But when she was talking to her brother, and I think it was her brother she was talking to, so definitely don't quote me on this, but this male person, I'm just going to say this male person because I really don't know if it's the brother, but I'm pretty sure it is the brother. But this male said to her, Mom didn't have cancer. So all these years go by. They think that, well, she thinks that her mom died of cancer. And that's why she had to go get this mammogram at such an early age, because she's at high risk. So there's all these lies that are kind of filtering, and she doesn't know what's true. She doesn't know what are rumors, what have you. So, you know, when you kind of look at something like this and think, why would this person do this? Well, now that we know this missing person, her mom did not have cancer, I'm going to say out of 10%, there's a 9% chance that this dad, the stepdad, killed the mom and killed his stepdaughter. And apparently, and I heard this today, the dad, once after, his wife died, wanted everybody's information because he was going to sue everybody and everything. But then he did not approve for an autopsy. He was like, nope, we're not going to do it. So that just goes to show there was other means to her death. Now, this man, the stepdad, he actually was a cop. He ended up going to jail. He had inside of his home, once after his wife died, like this entire camera system all throughout his home, so he could see anytime anything was going on inside of his home. And he also had the capability of recording telephone conversations. So, okay, first of all, this is totally creep alert. I don't want to know what my son's talking about. And I don't want to know because, first of all, he's a boy. Okay, he's a 16-year-old boy. And I trust him enough that he's not going to be on the phone saying or doing stupid things. Okay? And then all these recordings. Now, I have to say, I have cameras all throughout the outside of my home. I have 2 cameras that are inside. I have a camera that's in our smaller living room, and I also have a camera further in the back, which is kind of getting our dining room area and our family room. But that's there not to spy on my son or even my wife, but it's just there for that added protection. Okay? So he goes on this rant and rave, on his own rant and rave, and he tries to debunk everything that everybody's saying. He has his own YouTube channel. He goes on and says how, this missing person sister is pretty much just out of it, or whatever you have to say. Okay, but during this time, he's trying to prove his innocence, but he had so many videotapes and so many audio tapes of everything that was going on in the home, and every time that phone would ring. Well, what happened to that? I want to say when he went to jail for 10 years. And even when he went to jail, those tapes were not found. The day that his stepdaughter, quote unquote, went missing, there was no video, there was no audio. It's as if everything just disappeared, just poof, it's gone. And this is a man who recorded everything 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He even would bring his own camcorder to family functions, and it actually creeped out, his kids. After a while, it's more of, this isn't for family memories, but it's more so just to be a perv. And on one of these videos he was recording, one of the girls actually said, and don't quote me, but I believe she said, either he's a creep or he's a pervert. One of those, okay? So that alone throws up red flags. If my son were to come and I'm recording something and he's like, Mom, like, you're a pervert. Like, first of all, I'm be like, whoa, wait a minute. Where did this come from? Like, what is going on? Okay? Those words should never come out of your kid's mouth. If it does, something else is going on, something else is wrong. But it's been quite a few years. And I actually had mentioned this on one of the TikTok videos, not on mine, but on the other sister's TikTok video. This is actually the one who went to have the mammogram. I actually mentioned, well, why don't you just request your mom's medical records? Why don't you request the coroner's report? Like, what is going on? So it's kind of gotten my own curiosity. And I want to know, did this asshole not only kill his stepdaughter, but did he also kill his wife? So now I'm thinking, okay, I wonder if I should request those records. And once my mind kind of goes that direction, then obviously that means I'm going to end up requesting those records. And in regards to that, I want to know, how many times were the cops called to that home? How many times was 911 called? Not only law enforcement, but EMS. So now I have to go back and I have to do my research. When did they get married? How long do they live in this particular home? And this is another red flag. So when his stepdaughter, again, allegedly goes missing, he ends up moving out of that house and moves directly across the street. Why are you going to do that? Why are you going to go through all the trouble of picking up your couch, of moving all the crap that you have in your home? Because when you start to downsize or you're going to move, you have no idea where all this crap suddenly came from. So, looking at this, not only, as I mentioned, is that a huge red flag, but it tells me that he is watching that house, not to see if his stepdaughter comes home, because he knows she's not coming home. He knows that he buried her somewhere in some sort of a bag, because that's what I keep seeing, like a garbage bag. If he thought that she was going to come home, he would have kept her pets. I think she had a ferret, was one of her pets. But rather than keeping them as that keepsake, we got to take really good care of this ferret because it was my stepdaughter's, he ends up just giving them away. So he moved across the street so he can keep an eye on that house. He ended up selling his truck that he picked her up in, and that was the last time that she was seen, was in his truck. He sells it and he goes out and buys the same truck, identical. So why are you going to do that? Okay, so he's obviously looking at that house, right, as I mentioned earlier, because he wants to see what's going on. Who's going to the house? Is law enforcement going to the house? So that means there is something in that house or on the property that he doesn't want anybody to know of. So remember when I said about those audio tapes and those the videotapes? I believe that those audio recordings and the video recordings are literally in the wall in that house. I do. I also believe that in that truck that he sold so fast, that there is something in that truck. I don't know if it's like a gun or a knife, but there's some type of a weapon there. Now this man, remember I said he used to be a cop. Once you're a cop, you're always a cop. You're going to know how to get rid of bodies because you're a cop and you go out and you look for bodies. You try to see what's going on. So, is this the perfect crime? Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a very smart man and a very conniving individual. But he's very, very smart. And will he ever be convicted for this crime? I would like to be hopeful and say yes, but this man is already much older now. He looks like he can go anytime, basically. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to be around when and if that time ever comes. But I do feel that law enforcement really needs to take a look into the death of his wife. We see it all the time. Law enforcement reopens a case, ends up digging up the coffin, and gets DNA, gets whatever out of whatever remaining skeletal remains are there. We see it all the time. All the time. But going back to this whole missing person, we're actually going to be in Desert Center tomorrow. And it's in Coachella Valley. And apparently he said that there was a sighting of her in California, which is BS. Literally is BS. He would get up and go, I want to say maybe every weekend, I believe that's what they said, to go so he could go search for a stepdaughter. The sister would ask him, can I go? He would say no. So where is he going every single weekend? Or however many times? This is the way that people kind of make things to kind of throw people off, I guess we could say. We saw this on the Scott Peterson case. His wife Lacey Peterson went missing more further up north towards San Jose, and then all of a sudden he brings the investigation down here. I want to say around Beverly Hills. I remember when I saw that, I said, oh, he's trying to kind of make people think she's over here rather than over there, so they would stop searching. But obviously that didn't work. So we're going to be in Desert Center tomorrow, and it's in Coachella Valley. There's like a vacant area, and we're going to be over there tomorrow. We're going to be searching for her. Now the thing with this area that we're going to, it's literally just all desert. It's going to be hotter than hell. I'm probably going to come back being more darker than what I already am. And for somebody to be able to go and dig a grave, to put somebody into a grave, that's going to take some work. So was that the reason why he was going every once a week, or however many times he was going, was to make sure that he could dig that hole deeper and deeper every time? Was he going to make sure that nobody was going to go look at this area of dirt that was disturbed? Was he just going back to the scene of the crime? I mean, he was obviously going there for some reason. Now, is she buried somewhere in Desert Center? I don't know. And even if she is buried in Desert Center, and it's such a large area, and it's desert. And there's going to be so many other people that are buried out there in the desert, because that's where people go. That is where people go. I want to say the most recent person they actually found in Desert Center, they found a female who they're calling Jane Doe on the side of the freeway in Desert Center, in the area where we're going to be at. But I really don't feel that it's her, because if it was her, she would have been badly decomposed. Very, very badly. And when you're in the middle of the desert and it's found, like a body is found just thrown there, that's a quick dump. When anybody is found on the side of the road, on the side of the freeway, in the riverbed, whatever it is, those are what we call quick dumps. So I don't feel that this Jane Doe that they found is going to be her. So, again, we're going to be there tomorrow. It's going to be hotter than hell. And I would not be surprised if we made some discoveries. I am hoping that any discoveries we make, it will be in regards to the person that we're going out there to look for. But, you know, there's just going to be so much energy. And it's going to be really difficult to try to find, okay, well, we have this Jane Doe, and we have this Jane Doe over here, and then we have this John Doe. Trust me, there's going to be 1,000,001 does out there. But the most exciting part about this is that my son is actually going to go. And tomorrow's the first day of school. He homeschools, and he was like, I really want to go. So I'm like, you know what? Let's go. I've noticed lately that my son, he has taken an interest in cold cases. He's always watching something on YouTube about a cold case file or even a missing person. And, you know, I don't want him to feel like he needs to grow up to be like me. I'm a medium. I go and I do these searches. I go out with law enforcement. I go out with families. I go and I do readings. I go and do clearings. And he does come with me to some of these things. But do I feel that this is his route, his journey in life? I do. But I am not feeding that seed, because that has to be something that he wants to do. And remember, I always talk about free will. He can change his mind at any given time. But I am excited about that. That's why I'm saying I would not be surprised if we make some type of a discovery, maybe of some other doe that's out there. You know, he's extremely intuitive, but I'm super excited about that. So on the next VK's Rant and Rave, I'll let you guys know how this actually all turned out. If we found anything. I think tomorrow we're going to leave about, I think 4:45. He's like, OMG, it's like the crack of dawn. I'm up at 4 a.m. anytime. You know, every morning I wake up about 3 o'clock. 3:45, my body is like, hey, wake up. So he can fall asleep in the car. So from where we live to going to Desert Center, it's about 200 miles. So it'll take us about 2 hours. So we'll get there. We'll kind of see what we can see, what we feel, what, you know, my friends are going to be feeling. And we're kind of going to go from there. We're not going in with any type of expectations whatsoever. We're not. We're just going in there to check out the area. There's a lot of abandoned buildings over there. There's only one post office. Can you imagine one post office? I mean, this desert center, it's really, really small. The population, I should say, there's not a lot of people there. So we're all going to stick out like a sore thumb. But I don't care. So that's my VK's Rant and Rave. Keep us in your prayers for a safe search. And, you know, let me bring this up as well. People ask me, well, when I go on searches, what is that I do? So when I go on searches, I literally, I have to feel the energy. It's the energy, it's my spirit family that guides me. And I go where I am drawn to, where I feel that I need to be. And sometimes I will be drawn to a certain area, but that certain area is the area where I just need to be at that moment in time. I don't know why. That's just how it works. Now, when we go searching, do we always find people? Unfortunately, in the spirit world, it's never like, hey Vic, look at that big ol' X. Or let me drop a pin for you. It's literally a big jigsaw puzzle. Here's your first piece, is your second piece, your third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and on and on and on. So it can be frustrating and time consuming, but it's something that I enjoy doing because it's something that I do in order to give back. So I don't go with any tools. I don't go with the pendulum. I don't go with any type of metal detector. It's just me, my Yankees hat, my sunglasses. I do always make sure that I am recording. And That's how it pretty much is for me when I go out on missing person cases. Sometimes if I'm out with law enforcement will say, we feel he's somewhere around here. Okay. So that alone, if they have like an area, okay, well, we're in this like 1 mile radius. Let's break it down into quadrants. So basically what that is that you're making boxes, right? Here's your first box, your second box, your third box, your fourth box. And within this 1 mile radius, you can say, okay, I already searched box 1, I already searched box 2, 3, and 4, and so forth, right? Because if not, you're going to be wandering around aimlessly. Okay? So it has to be done in a way that makes sense. Because trust me, I don't want to be walking around, as much as I love heat, I don't want to be walking around in 120 degree weather. As I said, I'm already dark as it is, and chances are I'm going to come back even darker. So being able to just get out there and feel the energy, feel the environment, to feel the dirt. Okay, I know that I've been out on searches and I have to pick up that dirt. I have to go and stand by a tree. And it's not that it's, OMG, you're being weird. But see, what people don't understand is that trees and plants, rocks, and even dirt, they see, they hear. And as odd as it sounds, they will talk to you. And how do they do that? By the energy. The energy is their voice. The energy is their eyes. So just, with plants, think about all those homicides that have taken place in people's home. And they know that shithead over here killed his wife because shithead wants to go and hang out with some other girl. Imagine, even if there was a bird in there or plants, they know what's gone on. They know who killed them. But if you bring that up to law enforcement, well, let's ask the bird. Let's ask the dog. Let's ask the cat. They have a pet iguana. Well, let's ask them. Let's ask the plants. Remember, everything is energy. And they feel energy. They see energy. They hear energy. So going and picking up that dirt or picking up a rock and just walking around with it, or going and standing by a tree, that's what feeds me the energy as well, and it feeds me those visual images. And people might feel it's strange. I know that there are some detectives out there who feel that this is strange. I actually was working a missing persons case about a little boy who went missing, I want to say, Pasadena. And I remember I went to like the area where they thought the dad was at. And I remember I just picked up the dirt. And my friend was like, what the hell are you doing? But I kind of already went into that mode of, I can't respond because it's gonna break the energy. And I immediately said, he's not here. He's not over there. And once I picked up that dirt, it literally painted a picture of this area. Now, the detective who was working this case, he was totally awesome. He was totally into it. And I remember I said, and I wasn't asked to go out on this. I did this because this was a little kid. And I remember I talked to the detective, and he actually wanted to be out there when we were doing this. And I said, this is what I'm seeing. And I told him what I was seeing. He said, interesting. And he said, okay. And he didn't say anything else. This little boy was found later on that day, because this was early in the morning. And that little boy was found later on in the day. So, again, it's always all about the energy. There's no tools. There's no, this person who's buried there looking at me and say, I'm right here, and jumping up and down, pointing their finger down, here. Now, does that happen? Yes, it does happen. But, there's really not much that we can do. We just tell law enforcement, well, I do, there's a body right here. and they always say, okay, well, we'll take care of that. There has been a time where it was so strong, I literally had to say, give me a shovel, give me a shovel, give me a shovel, like now, 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 now. And started digging. Not even that deep, because this was a very shallow grave. And sure enough, we ended up finding somebody who was buried there, and had no relevance to the missing persons case that we were looking for. But this person ended up being someone else who was missing. So it just really depends. It's, sometimes people are meant to be found. Sometimes people are not meant to be found. There's just so much to go on. And, I've seen pretty things and I've seen really ugly and bad things. But again, it's just the way that I'm able to give back. So again, I'm super excited about going tomorrow. I am excited that my son's coming with me. It's going to be interesting to see how he does and how he feels the energy and what his thoughts and his opinions are going to be, because I'm totally open to that. Totally open to that. So wish us luck. I'm crossing my fingers. Pray for us that we are all safe in 120-degree weather, where there's probably not a single tree yet, and there's only one single post office. And I will be back next week to let you know what we found. And I'm sure that you can go on and Google some of the stuff that I've actually mentioned, but I'm just not saying what case this is in relation to. But if you Google some of the things, I know will show up. All right, everyone. Until next week, have a great day.